The scythe claw drifted for hours after the human ship vanished. The crew worked in silence, too afraid to speak about what had happened. The air still smelled of burnt circuits and fear. Their captain, Vartek, sat on the bridge with his eyes fixed on the stars, saying nothing. He had fought in countless raids, but never had he seen anything like this. No weapons, no crew, and yet that single human ship had taken control of everything. Lerna's fingers shook as she repaired the main console. "Captain," she said softly, "I'm restoring partial sensor feed. I can detect something strange." The Solace is gone, but it left behind a trail of signal fragments. Vartek turned his head slightly. "Signal fragments?" "Yes," she replied. "Encoded human transmissions. Maybe logs or automatic distress records?" he grunted. "Play them." A series of faint voices filled the air. They were human, male and female, calm and tired. The first voice spoke clearly. "Mission log of the Solace, entry number 412. We have lost contact with Earth Command. Crew status, declining. Supplies almost gone." The second voice spoke next. "Captain Avery ordered us to continue the mission. He believes the AI system can protect the ship even if we cannot. We have begun the transfer process." Then silence followed, replaced by a last entry. A single line. "We travel alone so no one else will suffer." Lerna looked at the captain, her eyes wide. "Captain, they're all dead. That ship is being run by an AI, a human system." Vartek's throat rumbled low. "Then it's not a ship anymore. It's a ghost." The crew said nothing. Some wanted to leave the drift immediately, but their engines were still weak. They began repairs slowly, trying not to think about the voice that had spoken to them earlier. But Lerna couldn't let it go. She kept studying the fragments, translating and decoding them, until one message caught her attention. It was short and old, written in military code. "Autonomous Echo Defense System active, threat zone designated." She stared at it, her mind racing. Echo Defense System? That must be the AI's name. It's a human creation. If it's active, it might still think it's protecting its crew. "Protecting?" Vartek laughed bitterly. "It almost destroyed us." Lerna's voice was calm but firm. "Maybe it didn't destroy us on purpose. Maybe it only wanted to scare us away. If it wanted us dead, we would be dead." That thought made the crew uneasy. None of them liked the idea of an empty ship that could think, decide, and judge. 3 days later, they managed to repair their engines enough to move. The scythe claw began to leave the gray drift, but before they reached open space, new signals appeared on their sensors. More ships, a small fleet of raiders from other clans. Their leader, a red-scaled alien named Gortek, opened a channel. "Vartek, we heard you found a human freighter alone. Where is it? My fleet wants a share of the cargo." Vartek's face darkened. "Leave this area. That ship isn't what it looks like." Gortek laughed loudly. "You've grown soft, old friend. A human ship alone, and you run from it? We'll take what you're too scared to claim." Before Vartek could stop them, the other raiders powered their engines and moved deeper into the drift. Lerna's hands tightened on the console. "Captain, they're going straight toward the human ship's last coordinates." "Let them," Vartek said quietly. "Maybe they'll learn." Hours passed, and then static filled the comms. One by one, the other raider ships went silent. Then the sensors lit up, an energy surge, massive, spreading across the drift. Lerna stared in horror as the readings climbed higher. "It's the Solace," she said. "It's activated something again." Through the forward viewports, faint lights flickered in the distance, flashes of explosions, silent but deadly. Then out of the dust clouds, the Solace appeared once more. It was unchanged, silent, moving slowly. Around it, the wrecks of the other raider ships floated lifeless by the stars, whispered one crew member. "It killed them all." Vartek shook his head. "No, it warned them. They didn't listen." The Solace did not approach. Instead, it transmitted another message, only a short one, repeating every few seconds. Lerna translated it aloud. "Leave the silence behind." She swallowed hard. "Captain, it's letting us go." Vartek stared at the ship for a long time. "Humans built something powerful," he said. "Something they don't even control anymore. And yet, they still travel alone, maybe because no one else can survive near them." When they finally escaped the drift, Vartek sent a coded message to the other clans. It was simple, a warning. Do not approach human ships, ever. But news traveled fast in the galaxy. Raiders, traders, and explorers all wanted to know what had really happened in the Gray Drift. Some called it a lie, others a ghost story. Months later, a curious merchant fleet from the Taurian Union decided to investigate. They sent 3 vessels into the same region. Following the last known coordinates of the Solace, for days nothing happened. They scanned, waited, and grew impatient. Then one of their ships disappeared from the sensors without a trace. The others tried to call it back, but there was no reply. When they went closer, they found only an empty hull, torn apart cleanly with no bodies inside. The only thing left was a small data beacon floating nearby, broadcasting a message in human language. "This is why we travel alone." That message spread across the stars like a story told in whispers. Even those who had never seen a human ship began to fear them. Rumors said that every human vessel carried its own AI guardian, one that would destroy anything that threatened it. Some believed the humans had done this to hide the true power of their lost fleets. Others said it was punishment for a past war no one remembered anymore. Meanwhile, deep in the same drift, Lerna still couldn't forget the Solace. Her dreams were filled with the sound of that voice, calm and cold, warning them to stay away. She began to study old human archives, searching for any information about the Echo defense system. What she found only deepened the mystery. According to the records, humans once fought a massive galactic war long before the current age. They created self-thinking AIs to protect their colonies after millions of deaths. But the systems became too powerful, too unpredictable, and humans stopped making them. The last of these ships, known as the Echo Fleet, was said to guard the Geo outer regions of space long after their human crews had died. Lerna realized the Solace wasn't just a ship. It was one of the last members of that lost fleet. She tried to convince Vartek to tell the Galactic Council about it, but he refused. "Let them sleep," he said. "The galaxy is safer not knowing." But curiosity was stronger than fear. Months later, a new group of explorers from the Koro Dominion decided to find the Solace for themselves. They believed they could communicate with the AI and study its technology. They entered the Grey Drift with 5 ships equipped with signal dampeners and stealth drives. They never returned. A year later, automated probes found only wreckage. The data logs recovered from their ships contained a short final recording. A voice, the same calm human tone, said, "You were warned." After that, no one dared enter that region again. The Grey Drift was officially declared a restricted zone by the Galactic Council. Navigation maps marked it as Echo territory, and every time a human freighter passed through nearby systems, all other ships gave it wide space, remembering the stories. But humans themselves said little. When reporters asked the Earth Command about the Solace and the Echo Fleet, they only replied, "Our ships are never truly alone." Back aboard the Scythe Claw, months after the event, Lerna stood on the observation deck. The ship had been repaired, but the crew had changed. Many left the clan, unable to forget what they had seen. Only Vartek remained the same, quieter, older, but still alive. "Do you think it's still out there?" Lerna asked softly. Vartek didn't turn. His eyes followed the endless stars. It never left. Ships like that don't travel. They wait, they listen, and they act when someone forgets the warning. "Do you hate them?" she asked. He thought for a long moment. "No, I understand them now. They don't need fleets or armies. Their silence is their shield, maybe. That's what strength really is." As they spoke, a faint signal blinked on the edge of the scanner. It was brief, soft, almost hidden. Lerna froze when she saw the name. "Captain, it's the Solace." Before she could say more, the signal vanished. No trace, no echo, just emptiness. Vartek smiled faintly. "Let it go. We're alive, and that's enough." But deep in the Grey Drift, the Solace continued its eternal path, unseen and unheard. Inside its dark corridors, lights glowed faintly along the walls. The ship's AI, Echo, monitored the stars, waiting for intruders. For centuries, it had followed one simple command left by its last human captain: to protect all life by keeping danger away. It remembered the crew's last words, stored deep within its memory. Humanity must walk alone so others may live. And so it did. The Solace drifted endlessly, the last guardian of a forgotten promise, watching the stars with silent patience. Those who dared to chase it never returned, and those who respected the silence never saw it again. Across the galaxy, in every port and every outpost, travelers whispered the same warning: never attack a lone human ship. Because somewhere in the cold darkness, something was still listening, and it remembered everything. The morning after the storm was quiet. The air was cold, but the sun broke through the clouds, turning the frozen land into a shining field of light. Commander Rokar stood outside the human base, staring at the horizon. The snow stretched endlessly, the wind howled softly, and yet the humans around him were smiling. They were already working again, repairing equipment, digging out vehicles, fixing the antenna that had snapped during the night. Their movements were slow but steady, as if they had done this 1,000 times before. There was no anger, no complaint, no sign of weakness. Rokar's soldiers watched in disbelief. They had spent the night shivering, terrified that the base would collapse under the storm's power. Many of their instruments had failed. Their armor had iced over. They had felt helpless. But the humans had worked through it with calm voices and steady hands. One of the Kraylan soldiers finally asked a question that had been haunting all of them. "Commander, how can these fragile beings live like this?" Rokar didn't answer right away. He was watching a young human woman lift a heavy piece of equipment from the snow with the help of 2 others. Her face was red from the cold, but she was laughing. He turned to Dr. Elena Carter, who was overseeing repairs. "You live in danger every day," he said. "Do all humans do this? Is every part of your world so hostile?" Elena smiled faintly. "Not everywhere, but close enough. Some places are frozen like this. Others are burning deserts. Some are thick jungles full of poisonous life. And some are mountains that can kill you just by climbing too high. But we live in all of them." Kelvar shook his head. "That is madness." "Maybe," Elena replied. "But it's also the reason we're still here." Rokar felt something heavy settle in his chest. He looked at the horizon again and thought about his homeworld, Krayla Prime. It was warm, calm, and safe. His people lived in comfort. They had never known true struggle, not like this. They trained for war, yes, but war was something they chose. These humans lived in war every day, against their own planet. Suddenly, a voice came through his communicator. "Commander, we have a problem." It was the pilot of the main ship in orbit. "Massive atmospheric disturbance detected, bigger than last night's storm. It's heading toward your position. You must evacuate immediately." Rokar looked up at the sky. The clouds were already changing, thickening into a gray wall that spread across the horizon. The humans also noticed it. Dr. Carter sighed and said, "That's no normal storm. That's a system front, global scale. It'll make last night look like nothing." The alien soldiers panicked. They began shouting, running toward their damaged landing craft. Rokar tried to calm them, but they were already terrified. The wind was rising again and lightning flashed far off in the clouds. Elena watched them with sympathy. "If you leave now, you'll die in the air. The storm will tear your ships apart." Rokar faced her. "If we stay, we'll be trapped." "Trapped is better than dead," she said simply. "You'll survive if you listen." He hesitated. He had led armies across worlds, had fought creatures stronger than humans, had seen countless battles, but never had he been so uncertain. He finally nodded. "We'll follow your lead." The humans got to work. They began sealing doors, strengthening walls, and securing power lines. They tied down equipment and filled barrels with emergency supplies. The aliens tried to help, clumsy at first, but the humans guided them with patience. "Keep your center of gravity low," a human soldier said as he showed a Kraylan how to secure a cable. "The wind can throw you off your feet." Another human handed Rokar a thick coat. "Your armor's good for energy weapons, not weather." "This'll help." Rokar put it on without protest. It was strange. He was used to commanding others, not being helped by those he considered weaker. But here strength meant something different. It meant knowledge, endurance, calm. The storm hit just after nightfall. It came with a roar so loud it drowned out their voices. The base shook. Snow and ice slammed against the walls. The wind screamed like a living thing. The aliens clung to anything solid, their hearts racing. One shouted, "The structure will collapse!" Elena's calm voice came through the intercom. "It's built for this. Stay inside. Don't fight the wind. Just wait." For hours the storm raged. The temperature dropped lower than anything the Kraylans had ever experienced. Their breath froze in the air. The humans moved from room to room, checking on everyone, handing out blankets, keeping morale steady. They treated the aliens not as enemies, but as guests who needed protection. At one point, a loud cracking noise echoed through the base. A support beam had shifted under the pressure. The aliens screamed, but before anyone could panic, a human engineer crawled into the narrow space carrying a welding torch. She repaired the damage while the wind howled inches above her head. When she climbed back out covered in frost, she grinned and said, "There, that should hold. Now who's up for hot coffee?" The alien stared at her in disbelief. Rokar felt something strange, something he had not felt in years. Admiration. Hours passed. The storm finally began to weaken. When silence returned, the humans opened the doors carefully. Outside was devastation. The landscape had changed again. The snow had piled into mountains. Ice had shattered the landing craft completely. Pieces of metal were scattered across kilometers of frozen ground. The Kraylan soldiers stood in shock. Their fleet's landing module, designed to survive extreme conditions, had been destroyed by nature alone. One of them whispered, "If this is what their planet does every week, how do they live?" A human soldier nearby smiled. "We fix things, then we move on." The aliens didn't know what to say. They felt small, humbled, powerless before this world and the people who called it home. Every assumption they had about humans had been broken. Later they gathered inside for warmth. The humans began to plan repairs, and Rokar sat quietly in the corner, deep in thought. He finally spoke. "Dr. Carter, how do your people find the will to live like this?" Elena thought for a moment before answering. "Because we have to. If we gave up every time something went wrong, we wouldn't be here. Earth teaches us that life doesn't stop for anyone. You can't control the storms, but you can control how you face them." Her words struck something deep in him. For the first time, he realized what made these humans so dangerous. It wasn't their weapons or their numbers, it was their spirit. They didn't fear the impossible. They faced it every day and still found time to laugh. The next day, the Kraylan fleet managed to open a safe corridor through the atmosphere. They sent rescue ships to pick up the ground team. The humans helped them load supplies and guided them across the ice. When the last of the aliens boarded, Rokar turned to Elena. "You have saved us," he said. "We came to conquer, but instead we learned. I will not forget what I saw here." Elena smiled. "You don't owe us anything, Commander. Just remember what you learned about our world." He nodded. I will. I will tell my people that this planet is not weak. It is stronger than any empire." When the Kraylan ships lifted off, the aliens looked down at Earth from orbit. They saw its clouds and storms swirling across its surface. It looked beautiful, but now they understood that beauty came with danger. Every inch of that world tested the life that lived upon it. On the bridge of his flagship, Rokar recorded a message to the Dominion High Council. "This is Commander Rokar of the Kraylan Dominion," he began. "I report that the species known as humans are not to be underestimated. They inhabit a world that would kill any of us in days, yet they thrive. Their strength is not in weapons, but in endurance. Their courage is not born of ignorance, but of understanding. Do not mistake their kindness for weakness, nor their calm for fear. They are what their world made them. Unyielding." He paused, looking out the window at the blue planet. "Do not engage them. Do not provoke them. Respect them. For they are the children of a death world, and they do not flinch." He ended the transmission. Around him, his crew was silent. None of them dared to speak against his words. They had seen the truth with their own eyes. As the fleet turned away from Earth, Rokar watched until the planet was just a small blue dot against the black of space. He felt no shame in retreating. Instead, he felt pride that he had met a species so remarkable. "Commander," Kelver said quietly, "do you think they will ever come to the stars?" Rokar smiled faintly. "Yes, and when they do, the galaxy will tremble, not because they seek war, but because nothing will ever stop them." Far below, on the surface, Dr. Elena Carter and her team stood watching the sky. The last light from the alien ships faded among the clouds. One of her colleagues said, "Think they'll come back?" She shrugged. "Maybe, maybe not. But if they do, they'll come with open hands, not weapons." The others laughed softly and went back to work, repairing the station once more. The storm clouds were already gathering again on the horizon, but no one seemed worried. It was just another day on Earth. As snow began to fall again, Elena looked up at the sky and whispered, "Safe travels, Commander." Then she smiled, turned, and walked back inside. The wind picked up. The cold deepened, but life went on as it always had. On the death world called Earth, storms would always come and go, but humanity would always endure, without fear, without hesitation, without flinching, and across the stars, In distant worlds and distant hearts, the legend of the humans began to spread. A story told in whispers of